Hello and welcome to our webinar. Today we're going to be talking about managing fussy or restricted eating in preschool children, including some portion advice. My name is Kerry Marchant.
And I'm Alison Booth, and together we are community dietitians working in Somerset. So today we're going to cover some of the background on fussy eating, also some practical tips and things that you can try, and also look at what is an age-appropriate portion.
So the truth, fussy or faddy eating is a normal part of children's development, and this often develops around sort of 12 to 24 months of age. For most children, this generally resolves. However, it is a hard and emotive and ultimately a very frustrating part of your child's development, but hang in there.
So some of the reasons that your child might not eat. So they may not be hungry, and in particular, this can occur if they are snacking or having large drinks, especially before a meal or a snack is due. Also, if they're very tired. Also, if they are constipated, can in particular affect young children. Also, if they're not familiar with the food, so if you've given them something different for the first time, may not be keen on eating it initially. And also if it's not the shape or the look that they wanted. So for example, if you normally cut it into squares and it's been cut into triangles, they may refuse it. And also, they may have been given a lot of attention for not eating. So it's really important that you try and turn that around and avoid the behaviour that you don't want to encourage, and simply encourage the things that your child is doing well.
So for preschool children, generally they will eat to their energy expenditure. So what we mean by that is when a child has eaten enough calories for that particular day or over that week, then they won't eat anymore. So again, rather than us adults, children generally regulate their intake over a week period rather than a day-to-day period. They may eat more during a growth spurt, so you might find that when they're having this growth spurt, they're going to eat a lot more than when they're not. But if your child is growing well and gaining weight, try not to worry too much.
So one of the common statements that we have from parents is that my child eats nothing. And in this case, it's really important that we check that they are gaining weight and that they're growing on their appropriate centiles. And that'll be what is appropriate to that particular child. And if their growth and their weight are satisfactory, then actually your child is receiving adequate calories. So it's also important to think what your actual concern is. So is it that your child won't eat what you want them to, rather than they won't eat at all?
So we can just go through some practical tips now. So all caregivers should follow the same advice to avoid conflict over meals. So if your child has some meals with grandparents or aunties and uncles, then you might want to make sure that you're all following the same advice. For children over 12 months of age, we would recommend that you stock bottles of milk because this is very easy to drink lots of and they can very quickly fill up these small tummies. So all drinks should be given in a non-valved or an open cup instead. And try to eat together as much as possible so that your children learn by example. Meals are eaten separately or children eat different foods to the parents, then the child is unable to recognise the importance of eating the same foods as everybody else.
Try to encourage your child to eat while sitting at a table. And at that point, I would also advise that there is no TV on, that there is no phones, there's no tablets, so all the iPads or the Kindles are away. Everyone is present at the table, and this includes the adults. So all of these rules apply to the children as well as to the adults. And very, very much, you are the person that teaches your child how to behave in life, and how they behave at the table is absolutely no exception.
So then we might also look at the times of your meals. So we would recommend about 20 to 25 minutes for a main meal and around 15 minutes for a snack. Any longer than this and it is unlikely that your child will eat any more.
So some extra tips around encouraging your preschooler to eat a little bit more. So try to use positive language around food. So you might say, oh, this looks nice. This is yummy. And very much avoid making a yucky face, especially if you don't like the food yourself. So it's very important that your child does not see any form of disgust or dislike on your face. Otherwise, you're going to struggle to get them to try that particular food. Also, offer your child age-appropriate sizes of portions for both meals and snacks, and we'll cover that a little bit later in this webinar. And it's okay to offer your child a choice. So it's okay to accept that your child may not eat or may not enjoy every single food out there, but when you're offering a choice, no more than 2. One of the common traps that I find parents land themselves in is that children have a large milk drink before they have their breakfast. And what happens then is that breakfast is either delayed or it's refused. And then it means that your child is very hungry when it comes to their mid-morning snacks. Often they eat a lot more here than they would have done if they'd eaten breakfast. And that has a knock-on effect because it means that they often refuse their lunch or they don't eat what you would like them to eat at lunch. And then by their mid-afternoon snack time, they're very hungry, so they eat another large amount, and consequently they refuse their dinner. And then often that leads on that before they go to bed, they're hungry again, so they might have 1 milk drink or even 2, and sometimes they also feed through the night. So in effect, what you've done is you've turned your main meal and your snack times the opposite way around. So you want to very much be trying to encourage your child to eat at meal times and snack times, but also the appropriate types of things for those meals and snacks. So ideally, you would like your child to eat an appropriate breakfast, then a small mid-morning snack a couple of hours later. Say for example, you have your breakfast at about 8 o'clock, then mid-morning snack between 10 and 15 or 10 and 30, then lunch around 12 till 30, and also offer pudding if you wish. Then a mid-afternoon snack around 3 o'clock and an evening meal around 5, between 5 and 30, and then an evening snack before they go to bed, and also a milk drink if they want that as well.
Okay, so we're going to look at some portion sizes. So below we've just used the hand of your child as a guide. And some examples of this would be, so your starchy food, this would be 1 fist-sized portion, and you could offer at each meal. Fruit is 1 hand-sized portion, and again offer at each meal and or snack. Vegetables, this is your 2 hands cupped together, or I should say your child's 2 hands cupped together as a portion, and offer 2 at meal times. Meat, fish and alternatives is about the size of the palm for your child, and again we'd be looking at this about twice a day. Then you've got things like your milk, your cheese and your yogurt, so this could be about 200 mils of milk, 30 grams of cheese, 125 grams of yogurt or a dairy alternative, and you could offer 1 of these at each meal time. So on the screen we have a suggested daily meal plan, and this will depend on the age of your child, and as you can see you've got ones for children between 6 and 12 months and then children between 1 and 4 years. We also have some portion sizes on the screen for you. These have all been taken from the Caroline Walker Trust. If you wanted to look at them in more detail, they have a website. So these are some starchy foods, some protein, which might include meat or fish or eggs. These are your cheese, your yogurts and your custards and dairy foods, some fruits and veggies. And this is the link for you if you would like to look at them in a bit more detail. Again, just some pictures up on the screen for you of some different meal ideas in case you're a bit stuck. And these will just be some snacks, some snack ideas.
So some summary on the practical tips to help with eating. So it's really important that you don't force feed your child. So by all means encourage them, but you're not putting too much pressure on them to eat. It's also important that you avoid any excessive wiping and scraping with a spoon. So if you've ever tried a baby wipe, wipe it across your own lips and then lick your lips. They don't taste particularly nice. So if you don't like the taste, your child's not going to like it and it's not going to encourage them to eat. And it's also really important to let your child mess and experiment with food. So this can, like I said, be very messy. Put down a mat and allow your child to get their hands dirty and touch, smell, experience the food and deal with the mess at a later date. It's also important to continue to offer previously refused foods. So it can take up to 25 times. If you think about that, that could be once a week for a 6-month period. So this may not be something that happens immediately. And I would also advise that for children over 12 months, as long as they're gaining weight and growing fine, that you only offer them water overnight as a drink. So there's 2 reasons for that. One is that having too much milk overnight, so milk is a food and it will take away your child's appetite for breakfast, and that can have a knock-on effect for the rest of the day, as I showed in some of the slides earlier. And also, water is the only safe fluid from a teeth point of view to be given overnight as well. And in particular, that's because your saliva production reduces at night, and otherwise you'll have sweet, sticky milk around the teeth, and that can lead to dental decay. And it's also important to try not to delay the introduction of lumps. So in particular, if you've got a child who will only have smooth purees, then it's important that you try and introduce some soft lumps into their diet so that they don't just get focused on having smooth pureed foods. So that is the end of our webinar. Thank you very much for listening, and we'd really appreciate if you could complete the post-webinar survey by clicking on the orange link. So we'd be very grateful. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening.